Hello everyone, welcome along to Sports Pizza. Glad to have you join us on what is a brand new week. I've got to say a happy Workers' Day to everyone out there who's working their behinds off to make sure that things go as smoothly as possible. All the best in all your endeavors. Good to have you here on the show. Today we'll touch base with some big wins in the NPFL as we've got 2 match days to go. Big wins for Abia Warriors and of course Eagle Rangers. Home wins, has to be said, very important at this point in the season. We'll also touch base with the under-17s in Nigeria who are out there in Algeria trying to make sure they book a place for the next under-17s World Cup. It's currently going down there. Of course, big teams like Senegal, Zambia, Morocco, all in the mix as well. We'll touch base with Nduka by his side. We'll also touch base with the Grand Prix in Azerbaijan as we can see Red Bull continuing what is a remarkable run of form. And of course, what is sports pizza conversation without touching base with the Premier League, Bundesliga, the La Liga, and of course the tight end Serie A. Napoli, of course, waiting for an extra week for the title. We'll take a break now. When we come back, we would, of course, introduce the gentleman in the house to assist in the conversation and, of course, get into the stories. Welcome back to Sports Pizza. Glad to have you join us. My name is Yubi. And so, doing of it, I'm joined by Falana Adeniyi for another episode of the show. Falana, it's good to have you here. Happy Workers' Day to you as well. Good to see you in the building, especially off the back of what has been a nice week in the Premier League. Your dear Arsenal didn't quite give you the joy, did they?
Well, Arsenal, finally the elephant...
are falling off the tree.
They're falling off the tree, and maybe, just maybe, they're not off yet. Maybe they are still clinging to the branch. Only time will definitely tell. Well, of course, it's always a great time to be on the show to discuss sports. That's what we love.
And of course, a nice little slice of pizza at the end of it. I'll be a part of the show as always. Hit us up on social media, Sports Pizza across all social media platforms. Hit us up on YouTube as well. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss an episode. Of course, keep it going as we always do. Let's start off with the under-17s Nigeria cadets team who are currently coached by Nduka. Let's walk our way through this quite quickly because it's just the first game. A 1-0 win over Zambia. Next game, Morocco. This is a nice way to continue the value chain, the conveyor belt, so to speak. We've seen the Olympic teams have a couple of problems, but we saw us, win, I think, bronze at the last, under 20 AFCON, where the World Cup later this year. So this has to continue, isn't it?
Definitely. And what's better way to start the tournament than to win your first game? It's always key if you're playing at a cup competition. Win your first game in the group, and that give you a kind of breathing space, to execute the other games. And they will be playing their next game against a team that has been touted as the favorite for the group, and that's Morocco. Morocco won their own game, over the weekend, and I think the Golden Eaglets, they have a very very capable, and talking about Nduka who won the first under-17 World Cup for Nigeria in 1985. So I think the Eaglets should have enough to qualify from the group, and they should have enough to also qualify for the FIFA under-17 World Cup. But would they win it? That I'm not sure yet. Well,
of course, has to be said, the win against Zambia, a 1-0 win, doesn't have to be taken for granted because Nigeria obviously didn't have the best preparations. Played some academy teams here in Nigeria, but Zambia, interestingly, beat South Africa and beat Senegal in the warm-up games. And Senegal, of course, what they're doing on the continent as far as African football goes. So kudos to the Golden Eaglets, as they're called in Nigeria. Let's get away from all of that because there's still a long way to go in that tournament. Let's touch base now with the NPFL 2023 season, which is pretty much grinding to a halt at the moment. Talk to me about the final 2 games. The constants in this season is better than insurance. We're not going to spend our time on them not losing so far, and they're pretty much in pole position to finish in the top 3 positions, which makes them qualify for the Super 6, which obviously is now the way to win the tournament. But big wins for Abia Warriors and of course Enugu Rangers won at home to Wiki Tourists as well. No away wins, which tells you pretty much that it's business time. Nobody wants to lose.
And you actually won away from against Academy Warriors. And, I think they now have a strong hold on the second position in Group A, which I think they're going to make it to the Super 6 at the end of the day. And Bender Insurance need just a point, to qualify for the Super 6. So my money is still on Bender Insurance, Aimba, and Remo Stars. I'll call Remo Stars, they did the job at home, beating Aqua United 1-0, even though that the goal came very penalty. Penalty is still part of football, as people would say on the street of Lagos. And on the other side, Lobby Stars, I think they are also good value to qualify from Group B. They're top of Group B, and 2 games left to play. I'm very sure at least they will win one, and that is the last game for the group, at home. So Lobby Stars should qualify. With Rivers United, Rivers United have outstanding games because of their continental engagement. So would they have enough? Do they have enough to win
those games
to qualify for the Super 6? Well, only time will tell. But I think just Lobby Stars. I'm putting my money on just Lobby Stars.
Lobby Stars take on Dakada away from home in their next game and finish up the season, the regular bridge season, with Wiki Tories at home. So
I guess dry.
keep an eye on that. Pretty much they're home and dry as far as the results go there. But of course, Rivers United have played 2 games less than Lobby Stars. They of course knocked out of the CAF Confederations Cup to Young African. First leg 2-0, second leg they drew that game, and we pretty much knew from the time where they lost the first leg here in Nigeria at the Godswill Akpabio Stadium, Nest of Champions. It was it was home pretty much.
I mean, you didn't expect the Tanzania team, talking about Young Africans, to allow you get back into the game. It was always going to be about game management, and the Tanzanians, they did that at home. They didn't commit too much men forward, so that they don't get it on the counter. And so I think Rivers United lost the game in the first leg. Everyone knows that they lost the game in the first leg. So let's see if they can make it to the Super 6, and let's see if they can get back to the continent for next season. But then again, only time will tell.
Well, of course, wins for Remo Stars as well in the Nigerian Professional Football League, or the Nigerian Premier League as it's renamed nowadays, and we're currently 2 match days to those Super 6 playoff spots. Top spots in Group A, since the likes of Bendel Insurance, Ayimba, and of course you've got to also mention a team that have been doing well, Remo Stars as well, who are in pole position to finish there. Of course, Aqua United will have a thing or two to say about that, but that was a game that Aqua realized they should have won, because all drawn at the very least. That's what you call a traditional 6-pointer. What about what's happening in Group B? Lobby Stars currently topping Group B. Doma United, who were controversial inclusions in this season. Surprise, surprise, they're there in second place. And as things currently stand, there's still a big way to go because they've got some tough fixtures coming up. But 2 wins on the bounce means that there is second place in Group B, and Abia Warriors, who had that 1-0 win this weekend over Dakada FC, currently occupy the 3rd place. Rivers United, of course, are in 4th place, but with 2 games in hand after being knocked out of the continent, the CAF Confederations Cup semi-final, that is. Let's get away from all of that now and switch base to Azerbaijan, where we saw Red Bull put on a show. And I've got to say that Red Bull are actually dominating this thing. It kind of feels like we go back to Mercedes years, where you had Nico Rosberg and Lewis Hamilton, both drivers always in the first 2 positions. It almost feels as if, though, they've left the rivalry of the table and we're now rivals, both of you, myself, Sergio Perez and Max Verstappen. Because, look, it's fierce out there. They've got the best cars on the track, obviously. And the best 2 drivers at the moment. Definitely. And that breaks my heart because, lots of us in this part of the world are big Lewis Hamilton fans.
Maybe not the best drivers, just maybe the constructors are the ones, causing the damage for Mercedes right now. Talking about Lewis Hamilton, and they've had this back and forth on the engine. He suggested a lot of modifications to his cars. They don't
turn Lewis Hamilton to mechanic.
I mean, they suggested a lot of modifications to his cars, but they didn't listen to him. And he said on the back of what he had last season that we need to up our game. We need to find a way to close the gap on Red Bull and Max Verstappen. But Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes is not listening to him. So I think that is why he's still delaying signing a new contract for them. I think after the end of the season, they will consider all available options, talking about Lewis Hamilton and his team, and see, do we want to continue with Mercedes? Do we want to continue with the team that they are not listening to you, or do we want to move to another car constructors? That is left to be seen. But right now, just like you said, I think it's the era of Red Bull, Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez. Both have won 2 of the 4
for 4 races so far.
4 races so far. And the next one is the Miami Grand Prix, and that's a very, very good ground for Max Verstappen. But if there's one thing Sergio Perez is doing, it's like, I'm not allowing you to go. Maybe they will have to do what Mercedes were doing back
in the day.
You know, talking
like,
to the
you are number one
driver,
and you are number two.
Yeah, allowed the number one driver to win.
But apparently, from what we hear, he's free to race Max Verstappen to the number one spot. However, he's got to. I think the team principal, Christian Horner, said he now has to do it on non-street circuits. So that is where Max Verstappen has a bit of an edge as far as that goes. But after the victory, of course, Sergio Perez is confident, as he has ever been, to go ahead and challenge Max Verstappen for 6 points. 6 points. If he wins the Miami Grand Prix, which is the next circuit, then he goes top of
I think the
Max
difference
Verstappen.
between Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes and Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez right now is that they don't have another close driver, racing against them. So I think they'll just allow both drivers to do their thing and see who is going to end up one at the end of the day. It's not like they're scared that another constructor or another driver will come in and take the number one spot from there. So just like the chairman said, we're going to allow you guys do your thing. Whoever wins at the end of the day, fine. But I think they're going to share the number one and number two spots.
You get the feeling that push yourselves as far as you can. Then when you're at the final stages, we'll make the calls as to who is number one and who is number two. Verstappen, of course, let's say it is great to see Perez performing well on the circuit. It's great to see that happen. Next stop is Miami, and it'll be great to see how that ends up. Right then, let's get away from that story now, and let's get on to another story which I've been very interested in. Talk to me about what's happening at the Madrid Opens. Have you been keeping an eye on that? Round of 16 so far. What is the summary of all of that? I like to watch those, games when they're in the final, quarterfinal stages. But Iga Swiatek, Coco Gauff, some of the leading faces in women's tennis. What's happening there?
Well, Coco Gauff, she's still telling us that she's still a pretender right now because she got knocked out by.
She's young, isn't it?
Yeah, she's young, but then again, Serena was doing great things, at that particular age. But then again, they're different.
Then again, there's only going to be one Serena in the world.
Definitely. And she was knocked out by Badosa, who is a home favorite in Spain. So the fans were really, really behind her, and she played great tennis. She played great tennis against Coco Gauff. But Iga Swiatek, definitely the name on everyone's lips right now. I mean, she's the world number one, and she's really showing you that she's the world number one. The only tennis player that's able to have a go at Swiatek is Tunisia, who's the but she pulled out of the tournament just so that she can be fit enough for the next Grand Slam, which is the French Open. So I think Swiatek won the Stuttgart Open a couple of weeks back. So my money is also on her to win the Madrid Open, and of course I'm looking at her winning the French Open. Because she's the only tennis player in the female category right now that you can definitely put your money on. But the usual suspects in the male category, they are still going strong. We're talking about Carlos Alcaraz, Medvedev, Zverev, and Stefanos Tsitsipas. They are still going strong. So let's see what's going to happen in the tennis. Talking about the Madrid Open.
Well, of course, Carlos Alcaraz continuing to have a nice vein of form as well as Iga Swiatek. Both leading players in the Madrid Open, the favorites to go ahead and win it, are in the next stage of the tournament, which is the round of 16. Trust Sports Pizza to bring all those stories in its nitty-gritty, actually, to you when they happen. Of course, we'll take another break on the show. Now, when we come back, we'll touch base with your darling Premier League as things currently stand. Erling Haaland at 50 goals, first time in quite a while. Welcome back to Sports Bits, the final part of the show pretty much, and we are saving the best for the last as always. So we're going to touch base with the Premier League. Let's start off with Erling Haaland, who has now been the first Englishman since 1931 to score 50 goals in a season, and of course now equaling Alan Shearer's record for Blackburn for 34 goals in the Premier League, of course, in the 1995 season, and of course before then as well you had Andy Cole do the same thing as well. The difference is Erling Haaland has done it in 30 games, and back in the day you had to play 42 games. So look, Haaland has pretty much put these guys to the sword, but what does that mean now for the Ballon d'Or, which is where I want to have your thoughts as far as that goes. When you think about the Ballon d'Or, what's happened this year, with the World Cup and everything that Haaland has done, this could be a unique year in his career. He could probably never do it again, right? So if you're thinking Ballon d'Or at the end of the year, there's obviously going to be Messi in the conversation as per the World Cup. But that is gone because, that Ballon d'Or was done at the start of the year. Who do you give it to this year? There's Mbappe, who hasn't done much with PSG this year. They lost, by the way, at the weekend. Do you give it to Haaland outrightly? Does Kevin De Bruyne will be there, or would that solely depend on who goes on to win the Champions League?
Well, for this thing about the Ballon d'Or, it's they judge what happened from the beginning of the 2022 to the end.
The rules have pretty much changed now.
Yeah, so I think that still put Messi in the mix because of what happened at the FIFA.
No. I tell you what, it just crossed my mind. They've actually, the Ballon d'Or was held earlier this year, and everything that happened last year has gone with that. So the World Cup takes into account what happened, and the Ballon d'Or was given for last year. So this year starts from a fresh template entirely. So Haaland and players who performed this year are the ones who are going to, go ahead and...
Sure.
Yeah.
I think winning the Champions League would definitely put the Ballon d'Or in the hands of Haaland. And I think standing in their way is Real Madrid, we all know that. So would they be able to beat Real Madrid? That is left to be seen. But with Haaland in the team, I think Pep now has a better chance than he has had in previous campaigns, talking about the final in 2021 against Chelsea and the 2022 semi-final against Real Madrid. Mbappe, I think it will just end with just the French Ligue 1. And I don't think that is going to be enough for him to win the Ballon d'Or. So I think if he wins the Champions League, or even if they get to the final, talking about Real Madrid, talking about Man City, I think Haaland is definitely going to win.
Is he the best player in the world? And sometimes goals cloud judgment on what we see, because we see him. He's not Kylian Mbappe. He's not as easy on the eye as Kylian Mbappe, but he's a lethal. He's a ruthless goal scorer. He's not as good as Vinicius Junior on the ball. He doesn't go past players. So how do you pick the best player in the world? Is it just down to the remarkable records, the stats? Who'd you give it to if it were left to you?
Well, football is all about scoring goals. For those that knows how to put their money where their mouth is, when you play a game under 1.5 and they don't score, you're like, so what is the essence of playing football? It's just to score goals.
Yeah.
And Haaland is doing that, 50 goals already. Still some way to meet the record of Ronaldo, 63 in the season, and Lionel Messi, 72 in the season. So I think if they can get to the Champions League final again, I think he's going to get it. It's not easy to score goals. It's not easy to score goals. Yakubu will tell you that it's not easy to score goals. For Haaland to have done that, I think 50 goals at this stage of the season.
Remarkable stuff.
Close to 10 games to play.
So 6 games in the Premier League to play, 2 games at the very least, 2 games at the very least in the Champions League. There's 1 FA Cup final to be played. So that's 9 games. Do you think you can get to Ronaldo's 63 goals?
Obviously, he can get to that.
He's 2 hat-tricks away. If he scores, 2 hat-tricks, which is very capable of scoring.
Exactly. And you don't want to bet against him doing that.
Yeah.
Especially with the support cast of Kevin De Bruyne, Nduka, Bernardo Silva, Riyad Mahrez. Just feed him. And he's going to score the goals.
Yeah. Well, of course, Man City now regaining their control of the Premier League table and defending champions, has to be said. 76 points, 1 point better than the Arsenal, with a game to go, or a game in hand on Arsenal. So things currently stand. Man City are firmly in control of their destinies. Well, of course, here are the results for the Premier League weekend. Arsenal, of course, had that loss. They haven't still play up until now. But you've got to say Newcastle continuing to push for that 3rd place. Man United also in 4th place with a very remarkable win over Aston Villa. Pretty much bouncing back from that disappointing 2-2 draw with Tottenham Hotspur. Liverpool with 4 wins on the bounce, making a late push to make it into that top 4 spot, which just makes sure that United needs to continue winning those games. What about Aston Villa, who lost their first game in 10? First loss in 5 in the Premier League, and as things currently stand, they're still pretty much in pole position to finish in that Europa League spots as things look at the table at the moment. Well, of course, that's how things stand in the Premier League. Let's get away from that now and touch base with what's happening in Italy. And we saw a title party delayed this weekend, isn't it? And you always think that the fans are always eager to start the party early, but the players didn't quite get the memo, isn't it? Napoli couldn't get a win. And that just, set the fans very angry. At the end of the game, they were like, we set up all these nice flowers, everything, fireworks, waiting for you guys to win. You guys didn't make it happen.
Coming off the back of Inter Milan beating Lazio, and you probably feel like this is it. I mean, our first Scudetto in 34 years.
Yeah.
I mean, let's celebrate. Give us something to celebrate. And first, we're actually celebrating when Napoli scored first. Only for the celebration to be put on. No, don't worry.
Yeah.
We're still going to
put the champagne on ice.
Yeah, we're still going to celebrate. But let's push this further. By a week. I think Napoli will definitely win the league. I don't think there's anything that's going to happen.
This is the clear picture when you say destiny delayed is not destiny denied.
Definitely. But the fans were eager to celebrate over the weekend. But hey, congratulations in advance to Napoli, another Scudetto champion. This is the third time that we're having different champions. Inter Milan, AC Milan, and Napoli. Juventus are still in the wilderness. Maybe next season they can put up a very strong title challenge. But I think this Napoli, they can build on this. I think that they should be able to retain the Scudetto for next season. I'm sure it's a big if.
I'm sure Man United fans are looking at you saying if they can build on that. Build what? When we are coming for Victor Osimhen and Maradona and all those players. But it's been an incredible run for Napoli, who are currently top of the table, 18 points clear. And a win next weekend sees them clinch that first Scudetto title since the great Diego Maradona helped them do it. And that would be lots of credit to Victor Osimhen, who's been the spearhead of everything happening out there in Naples. But of course, second position sees Lazio. Juventus are in third. AC Milan, off the back of what is a nice draw against AS Roma, are in fourth place. Roma dropped to fifth place, and Jose Mourinho, still needs to push for that final Champions League spot.
They almost won that game.
Yeah.
Scoring
they scored in the 92nd minute.
Yeah,
and
Tammy Abraham.
Yeah.
And somehow.
Let it slip.
I mean, that's unlike Jose Mourinho team. So that last qualifying position for Champions League, about fourth place. They are all level of 57 points. Inter Milan, AC Milan, and AS Roma. Who is going to win it at the end of the season? Who's going to take that position? That is left to be seen. Boy, just smart money would definitely be on Inter Milan. Yeah.
Well, of course, Inter, AC Milan, and AS Roma all on 57 points. What a title, or what a Champions League qualification running we're seeing. And don't count out Atalanta as well, who are also in the mix for those final Champions League spots as well. Just 2 points behind the three we've mentioned. Right then, Bayern Munich, of course, go back to winning ways, which meant that they are top of the table. No thanks to Borussia Dortmund, who also made it possible for them with the draw themselves. PSG losing at home, but of course, the title will still be theirs by all intents and purposes. Welcome back from the Player of the Week, and of course we had quite the tough choice to go ahead and pick what you should make the Player of the Week. But of course, be a part of the show as always. Let us know what you'd rather have to see as a player video of the week or the Player of the Week. Regardless of semantics, regardless of how you want to look at it, it's still a nice little pick there. But good to see you, Adeli Farana, and I totally enjoyed your valuable insights as to all these conversations. Next week, however, we'll touch base with who's going to come up in the Premier League. We hear Sheffield and Burnley are qualified already, but who goes down? Big questions. Be a part of it on social media. Thank you very much indeed. We'll see you, Sports Pizza fans, next week. Thanks for being a part of the show as always, because the show is pretty much made for you and by you. My name is Yubi Nduka. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.